I came into this position, I was very honored to be in this position, but you don't know what you don't know. And, when you look at like success, you think about it as a straight line and we continue to make progress and go up. Well, as I look at success right now in this district, we started that arrow and then we have like a little bit of a hornet's nest before we make it out. Well, right now we're in that hornet's nest and I'm trying to straighten some things out. I'm trying to balance some things out. And the whole time in doing that, there's been errors along the way. I mean, there's been mistakes that have been made. There's been mistakes, not of your fault, not of my fault, but trying to straighten those lines out can sometimes be a little bit difficult. And then another thing that I've learned over my time here is just how quickly things snowball. From a comment or from a statement, and then the next thing I know is that, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. And I'm like, I didn't know we were doing that. I don't remember saying we were going to do that. So let me kind of put something to rest that's come to my attention a couple of times that's made some folks in here a little bit nervous, okay? And the first thing I'm going to say is the word outsource, okay? That word has never come out of my mouth, all right? I do not plan on outsourcing bus drivers, all right? I'll be the first one to tell you that. As long as I'm your superintendent, I do not plan on outsourcing bus drivers, all right? So when you hear the word outsource, you can know that it didn't come from me, all right? And in order for that to happen, it has to come from me. And it isn't coming from me, all right? So when you hear a rumor out there about, hey, we're gonna outsource bus drivers, we are not going to do that. You're too darn important to us. You're too darn important to our kids, all right? You guys know the kids, you know the routes, all right? And we need to do that. So it's an absolute insult to think that we would outsource our bus drivers, all right? So that's first and foremost. And the other thing I'm gonna say is that when we post positions, all right, like posting positions for summer school, we post them and we want to hire our bus drivers for summer school. We want to hire nurses for summer school that are already in the district. So we'll put postings out there, but sometimes we can't get enough. And once we get to that point where we posted it a couple of times and we can't get to enough, then we have to look for external, all right? So I just want to make sure that that's clear and that everybody in the room understands that, okay? When you look at the line that I was talking about, and that we're in a little bit of a hornet's nest right now. And when you look at that hornet's nest that's going out, we have found a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes, not in the transportation department, but just across our district as a whole, right? We found some mistakes in our transportation department. And what we're trying our best to do is always err on the side of our students or err on the side of our employees. What we've found is that a lot of times when we think, okay, this is in the best interest of our employees, this is in the best interest of our district, and we make a decision, there's a lack of either communication, lack of trust. I'll be honest, I still have to earn your trust sitting in here. And we're trying our best to do that. A case in point would be with the salary pay period. That was pretty interesting, all right, how that was mapping out. And so we got feedback from employees and from staff that, hey, we don't get the 27, we don't understand why the 27's there. So we tried to clarify that and put that information out. We were getting pushback that, oh, the district must be benefiting in some way, shape, form over 27. We don't benefit at all in it. We don't benefit. So what we did is we tried to say, okay, well, let's give you options. Okay, let's give you choices, and you guys can tell us what you would prefer, because it really doesn't make any difference to us. Okay? We're going to try and do that as well here today in talking with you. All right? I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Brock, but I do want to thank you for an awesome year. She's going to get into some details and some nitty-gritty. You have in front of you a sheet of paper that says stop, start, and continue. I want you to feel comfortable as Dr. Brock talks to you, or Mr. Brazil talks to you, or Amy Zielinski's here, and she's going to talk to you. As you feel comfortable, I want you to put things down. What do you think you're hearing, or even thinking about your year? What should we stop doing? You know, what are you frustrated about that we keep doing over and over again and we need to stop? And then what we'll do is we'll look at your stop, start, and continue, and we'll say, hey, we got it. There's a pattern here, and we need to fix this pattern. All right? I've actually had some conversations with some of you in the room right now, okay? And you guys have opened my eyes and broadened my lenses of things that I didn't know was going on, okay? This is a perfect opportunity for you as a group and as a department to put in and give me your thoughts and opinions, give Dr. Brock and Mr. Brazil your thoughts and opinions about, hey, what do we need to stop? What do we need to start? And what do we need to continue to do? So I've heard a little bit about summer school pay. I've heard a little bit about trip pay. I've heard a little bit about routes. I've heard a little bit about bidding for routes. That would be a perfect place to give me your opinion on that, so that we can look to see what are our bus drivers telling us. You guys are in it every single day. If we can't respect it, then something's seriously wrong. All right. So you guys tell us what you think, and then we look at what patterns, right? If I just have one person that is complaining about something or upset with something, I want to respect that. But if I have 25 people in the room that are saying the same thing, then hey, we need to do something about that. All right? I want employees that want to walk into the room and not only are they incredibly proud to work for our district, which I know you are, but I want you to be happy. All right? And I want you to enjoy coming to work every day. All right? Okay, Dr. Brock, go ahead and I'm going to turn things over to you.
Good morning. So one of the things that we've found through this process of going through and looking at all of our details and information, one of the things that we found is that currently you guys have 179 days built into your salary that you're paid for. However, at this point, there are 176 that you actually work. And so we're looking, not for this year, but we're looking for input from you guys on what we want to do with those 3 extra days. So there's been a discrepancy in how that's been done. And we're trying to clean those things up. So we have a couple of ideas. This doesn't mean that these are the only ideas. If you have ideas on your start, that would be a great place to write them. You can take up the back, you can do anything that you want. But our purpose here, like Dr. Wipke said, really is to get input from you about what we want to do. So a couple of thoughts that we've had. One is that we could have you guys come in for a day or two for some professional development. I've had a few different staff members over the course of the year talk to me about wanting professional development. We've talked about maybe professional development on dealing with students with special needs and their needs on the bus, or professional development related to student behavior on the bus and different ways or different strategies that you can use to manage that. So we've talked about providing that for you. We've talked about having some additional work just in your department. I know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in your department. I'm sure Jim could use some help with some things in the department. And so we've talked about a few of those things. We've talked about trip pay and possibly changing the rate or increasing the rate for trip pay, but decreasing the number of days overall back to that 176, which would offset each other. Because as Dr. Wipke said, nobody is going backwards in any scenario that we're presenting. Nobody money-wise is going backwards at all.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Sure.
When we went from 174 days to 170 days, 6 or 7 years ago, whenever it was,
Are school days? Is that what you're referring to? Okay.
we took a pay cut of 4 days, which we never got back.
Okay.
So our question is, why all of a sudden are we getting paid for that amount of days when they cut our pay that we never got back when they cut us by 4 days? That's true.
We were promised that we would get that back. She stood in front of us and said, I will get this back to you.
Over the next couple of years, you will get this back.
Dr. Critchlow.
Okay. And that's a situation that your question is the very first time I've heard of this at all. So again,
I kind of figured you guys
right.
probably didn't even know about it.
No, we didn't know about that. So
Guaranteed us.
Just take one for the team was the quote.
So that we can get it.
And I think somewhere along the way, even though those days were docked from us, somewhere along the way, somebody kept putting, that we were working on 174 school days when we weren't getting paid for that, and this kind of just stayed.
Hey, I'm gonna stop, because I'm having a real hard time hearing, okay? And you guys are having a hard time hearing too? And so I think you asked a great question, and we appreciate the question, we really truly do. And you know, we're trying our best to learn from the past. There are a lot of things that happened in the past, all right? And we're trying to do right by our employees, all of them, okay? I can't hear though when a question's asked, and then we have some side talk, and I'm not trying to be ridiculous here, but I'm standing over here. I really can't hear what's being said. And so if you have a question, write it on your continue, start, and stop. All right, we want to hear that. That was actually very beneficial to what Dr. Brock is saying. But then if you would do me a favor, even if you have some questions and you want to ask, you know, a person sitting next to you, this is not a very good place to have a meeting, but we were stuck and we wanted to make sure we had it here. For you to hold off on your side conversations so everybody can hear not only the question but the reply, that would be great. And then that is part of the reason why we have a continue, start, and stop. That would be something that, you know, and I'm hearing right now, with that question, I'm seeing a lot of people start saying, yeah, that was true, and this is true. Put that on there. You know, put that on your sheet, so that may be a common theme that gets stated back to us, and we can look at it. We're not gonna have all the answers to all of our problems within our transportation department today. The one thing that I don't know, and maybe you guys are a lot quicker than I am, and you're catching the conversation a lot quicker than I am. But are we following what Dr. Brock is saying about the amount of days and what? Okay, you guys are okay. I just want to make sure you're following that, because I mean, maybe I'm sitting in your desk and hearing this for the first time. I may not be following all of it. Okay? Yeah.
Sir, if we could clear one thing, I'm sure, it would make me feel better, and I think a lot of the drivers, a lot of us were given our letter of intent yesterday. And for the first time, I've been here quite a while, for the first time, we were not given an amount on our yearly salary. We were given the hourly, but we were not given our yearly. And the main question everybody's talking about, are we going to continue to be based on a 5-hour day for the bus drivers? Because the way it was worded on that pink sheet, it worded it that way. It said that the way the calendar is for our position.
It is the calendar.
So are we going to continue, is our pay going to be continued on the 5-hour day?
I just wondered if you're going back to an hour.
Are we going to?
I asked the question, I think it's clear what I asked. I don't think you need to.
Well, you don't want to say based on hours.
We're gonna go by time clock.
Our yearly salary was always based on 179, say it's 179 times 5 hours per day. That included like our meetings, everything that we did besides driving the school bus was all roped into that, and we just got a flat 5 hours a day times whatever we're making per hour. Is that going to continue?
That's how your annualized pay is determined.
Okay.
Your hourly rate times your calendar, number of days, times your hours per day, which is currently 5.
And that's gonna remain that way?
That remains that way.
Thank you, sir.
Are we doing a time clock, or is it?
So that amount is calculated, that annual amount is calculated.
Okay.
In the past, it has been divided by 26 installments.
Right.
And made due to 26.
Right.
This year, it will be for 1 year only, 27, then it'll go back to 26.
Right.
Because over every 11 years, we pick up a extra pay period.
Yeah, I just think the main concern was that it's still gonna be based on a 5-hour day, because that's great.
Can I?
Because if you take our hourly basis and times it, which I did when I got home, I'm making exactly what I made last year, it is what it is. But, and that's what times the 5 hours. So that's what I'm making sure of. We didn't have that final, figure this year, and I thought, why is that happening? It made us all apprehensive and a little worried. So we wanted to make sure that it's still gonna be times 5 hours, regardless whatever we make per hour, it's times 5 hours per day.
Times 5 hours times the number of days.
Thank you.
I can speak to that, cause I've heard a couple of people say, well, can we get that in writing, like just off to the side, I've heard that.
Yes, please.
So first let me explain why that happened, why it's not written on there. There are two reasons for that. One is that I'm new and that I didn't realize it had been on there in the past, so I apologize for that. And two is that you guys have all heard, I'm sure, that we're in the middle of transitioning from our old policies to the MSBA policies. And when we did that, MSBA provides us with contracts and letters. And so we've adopted their contracts and their letters. I could have added that had I known that it should have been there. So I do apologize for that. And Sam is actually here because he's putting together a summary of this meeting that we are gonna send to all bus drivers. And we'll make sure that that is included in writing in that summary.
Thank you.
Can I just add something?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so everybody's contracted for 5 hours. There are some of us bus drivers, especially the ones that drive special needs, that we go over 5 hours. If it's going to be an hourly on our contract, are we gonna get paid more for those hours over 5 hours?
That's the same as
Technically, you are hourly employed. That's why you are given an hourly rate. And there are a variety of laws that apply to hourly workers. Hourly workers are entitled to time and a half or overtime pay when they work more than 40 hours in a pay period, a 7-day pay period by federal law. So we have to track your time worked, and that's why we've tracked in the past in paper, but we're going to implement this now on a time card system so that we need to know that we're fulfilling our federal obligations, that when we can monitor what your work is, that if you work to a point where we need to pay you overtime, we can do that.
Okay, overtime or over 5 hours?
So, my overtime question was over 40 hours in a
Okay,
period.
I'm not putting it over 40, but I'm putting over 5 hours.
Right, so that presents us with a particular problem 2 ways. We are estimating, or we've put everybody on a 5-hour schedule, and we are trying to schedule your work 5 hours a day. We are gonna have some situations where people work more than 5, and we're gonna have some situations where people work less than 5, and we've gotta rectify how we're gonna deal with that situation. Because you are an hourly employee, we're committing to paying you that hourly rate, and if you're working 5.5 hours every day, or 6 hours every day, that's a problem for us. We've gotta figure out how to solve that. But we'll know that with the time system.
Well, what is that bus driver off?
We got a lot of hands up, we're gonna take Mr. Novotny here.
What is that, bus driver off to, and then there's different ones, different numbers, step 1, what is that off?
Okay, I can answer that.
Okay, the question was, repeat the question.
So the question was, some of you have your letters and it says, for your scale, it says like bus driver off 1 or bus driver off 2 or whatever it says.
Step 2.
There are some that say bus driver step 2. There are a few of you who have been here a while that say like bus off something, like the word off is in there. So I've gotten a couple of questions about what that means. So the pay schedule that you have in front of you that was adopted by the board last summer, that pay scale is the pay scale for drivers in the district. So effectively with any pay scale, with the administrator pay scale or the teacher pay scale or this pay scale, anytime the board adopts a salary schedule, that makes all previous salary schedules obsolete. So last year, when we transitioned to this schedule and everybody was placed in a certain place, there are some whose hourly rate was above the end of that scale. So that means you're off schedule. So that's what the off means. So that means you're past the scale, you're off schedule.
Well, what is the difference between like 7 and 2, that, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Off
so
7, off.
there's some that are off 1 and some that are off 2, or some that are off, like you said, 7. There are several people in your department who are off schedule, and anybody who's off, they don't all make the same rate. So somebody who is above the scale X amount of hours, there might be somebody else who's above the scale 5 more. And in order to actually have all those be correct in our system, we had to assign each one its own scale so that it would remain consistent over time. So if you're off 1, there might be 20 other people who are also off 1, but there might be 5 people who are off 7.
So basically, those numbers are the address of your rate of pay in our payroll system. So assuming we had a schedule of rows and columns, we have to give an address to where that rate of pay is. So off means you're off schedule, you're not on the schedule that's in front of you, you are being paid above the level of schedule because that's where you were before, and that's where you were when the schedule was adopted. The numbers are the address of where that rate of pay is in our payroll system.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, our pay is not gonna change. But you had just said, Mr. Brazil just said that we'll have to fix it somehow. If you're working 4 hours, you're working 6 hours, wait a minute. So, it means you gave us that hour, and that you said that you did that was your mistake, or you did that. So, next year, it's not gonna come down to, if we work 4 hours, we're gonna take that hourly, and that's what you're gonna make. You know what I'm saying? Is your pay gonna change?
I need all cheerleaders to go to the mat room as soon as possible. All cheerleaders to the mat room, please. Thank you.
No matter what.
We're not taking anybody under 5 hours. I have heard that is there a stipend for those who drive those middle routes?
Yes.
We get paid additional for that, it's like a field trip.
Okay, so we have to look at how to rectify that, because if you're getting something different for that, it's not also an additional hour. It's just like if you do a field trip, there's like a game at night. It's not also an hourly rate, it's trip pay. So there are a few different things here that we need to work out.
So let me answer your question first. As long as we run a 3-tier route system, as we do today, that requires 5 hours of time. And if we were running a 4-tier system or a 3-tier, a 2-tier system, that might be different. But as long as we're running a 3-tier route system, we anticipate that taking 5 hours of time.
And if it does not?
And so, if we have somebody over that's taking consistently more than 5, our first analysis is gonna be how to get them back to 5. Do we need to rearrange that route or reassign some things so they get to 5? Because if we also have people that are only running 3, we can obviously add time to them. And we can take that. So the first effort will be to bring everybody to 5 hours. If we're unable to do that, then we have to resolve it with that.
So, that's what I'm saying, so you.
But our commitment to you
They're going
is
to
5 hours a day.
I understand what you're
It's
saying,
real hard to hear that here.
but if you don't, say your 3 tiers don't take 5 hours, then your pay might be cut.
We're not taking anybody under
I'm
5
not
hours.
saying that at all. I'm
Okay.
saying we're gonna continue running a 3-tier system, and that takes 5 hours a day, and our commitment is.
No one will go under 5 hours, right?
Right.
Perfect.
No,
Done.
it's going under 5.
Okay, I misunderstood that, okay.
Everybody's worried about behind the wheel pay at that rate. That's the rate. For every hour behind the wheel, they'll be paying instead of a straight 5 hours. That's what everybody's worried about.
So we're going
It's
to,
based on your work.
we need you for 5 hours a day.
Everybody's just worried about being for 2 hours.
We currently need everybody for 5 hours a day. And we don't see that changing.
I mean, that's what the worry is, when you put the $15 an hour in, and not just base salary for the week. They're worried
You're
you're
not.
gonna ask for an hour behind the wheel.
Nobody's behind that.
So we had a question.
That,
We've
you
got
answered
several
mine.
questions.
We answered it.
That's.
You answered mine, I'm good.
Question in the very back.
I was just asking, she answered it about the trip pay, cause I got a little bus, and I was wondering
Everyone knows.
about if we were gonna pay hourly, or if it's gonna be like, what it is.
The trip pay, it's currently, what, $40, 4 hours, and then $10 each additional? 3 hours, okay. 3 hours, it's 3 hours, okay.
Yeah, for the little ones, it's just like $40, and like they split it. The morning is so much,
Okay.
and then and if you can't do your afternoon, then they split it, and then you make.
already that I don't have an exact answer for you about if it's going to change.
There's a trip goes that extra day for little buses.
They're getting paid like a trip.
It's not called trip, I don't think.
You may wanna explain that, why that is because I've been under the understanding or told recently that, early childhood is actually different than the district somehow, they're paid differently, and so that's why the pay for our early childhood routes is paid separate rather than with the hourly.
Okay, I think what you're speaking to is that our early childhood programs are reimbursed directly by the state of Missouri.
Exactly.
And we have to track those costs separately.
Right.
But that's a cost tracking thing.
Has nothing to do with our pay.
Well, your pay goes into that calculation.
Okay.
But we do have to track those costs separately.
Okay.
You get paid on a weekly basis for early childhood versus trip, and you get paid by a month. Because when somebody goes in the early childhood, it's on that pay.
So what you're doing is clarifying for my understanding of the difference between midday early childhood runs and other trip plans. Yes, sir. Other questions? Another question?
My question is, in the past, we've always been told that our safety meetings, fueling our buses, cleaning our buses and all of that is included in our pay. We don't get paid for coming to the meetings, but it's supposed to be included into our pay. Can you explain to me how that is going to work, or is that gonna stay the same? Are we gonna get paid for coming to our meetings, like, you know?
That is staying the same. So right now, the number of days that you work, whether it's 176 or 179 or whatever it is, there are 171 school days.
That's what I was gonna say before, those extra days that are added on here was supposed to be to cover those hours that we actually do work.
Yes.
Not counting them as drive time for our fueling and our cleaning our buses and then our safety meetings and such.
Right, so those extra days that are built into your calendar above the 171, those are for the meetings that you attend and all
So
of those.
why do you wanna make us start doing and I don't mind the extra training, I love it, you know, I think that was great, but how can you take those hours? I mean, are you know?
Those days actually, so you're at 171 and those extra meetings and things like that comes up to the 176.
76.
But what's in our system currently is 179.
So we have those three, okay, that clarifies it for me.
So did everybody hear the question
But,
and the answer?
hold on. There's a whole lot going into that.
Okay.
There was a question here.
My question is, okay, if we work these PD days and we're getting trained, is that gonna be credited to our hours that we need? Safety
Yes.
They're separate. The safety meetings are already rolled into that 176.
Will they be counted as our safety meeting hours?
She's saying the professional development days. If we do professional development, will that count as safety?
That's separate than the hour monthly meetings.
What about the video that took me 2 days to do?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
We can ask, write it down. No, on us. What about the video that took us 2 days of our own time to complete? Does that count?
Say the question again.
The video that took us 2 days to complete, does that count for our 2 days? We had to do it at home. It was mandatory. We had to do it. Doesn't that count as days for us?
The online training?
Yes. That's not in, that's not.
We completed a time card for that. We're paid for that at the beginning of.
We don't have a time card, no.
No,
We were not paid for that.
No. No.
No, we were not allowed to do that.
No. So I think that should count as 2 of the days.
I have no deal for that, so I can go back.
Write that down so we can review.
Don't worry, I already did.
Okay, guys, we're gonna really need to speak up, okay? I mean, in the back, I'm walking around in the back, there's some good questions in the back too that have been asked, and one of them has been just to talk and address the steps, and address that, but it's really hard to hear, in the back, so go ahead and finish your thought, Kelly.
So the question was just about the online training. If you'll come over here where Dr. Wipke is, is that better? Yeah.
Finger in the middle.
Okay, well now I'm moving because.
Hello again. Hello. So the question was about the online training that you guys did at the beginning of the year. That's the question I had a minute ago. So I don't remember the exact number of hours off the top of my head because that was back in August. I think it was somewhere around 4 hours.
8.
Okay, maybe it was 8. I'll have to look back at my documentation. But there was an email that I have that said that people who put that time on their time card could be paid for those hours. So I'll go back to that, and I have access to pull who all completed the training, and we said that we would pay you for that, so we will pay you for that. I didn't realize that you had to do
You have to understand the time card that you fill out really has nothing to do with our pay. It's just to track our hours that we're actually doing our job. That actually never, from what we understand, it never goes anywhere. It's just to say, okay, you did come in, you did work, you did do this. The only thing that really counts on our pay is what, for the field trips and for the early childhood. If we don't fill out paperwork for that, we don't get paid for that. Anything else is just numbers that are written on a piece of paper that really have no significance.
And that is something that will be different with our new system.
They do have significance.
Well,
And it comes in a form a couple ways. One way it comes in is if you miss more time than you have in your leave bank, you're faced with docking you.
okay.
Another way it comes into play is if you work more time than we allocated, we need to pay you that difference in the paper fashion. So you've been doing that in a paper fashion.
Correct.
Now you'll start doing it in an electronic fashion. And we'll be able to manage those records easier than on paper.
Time clock?
Yeah.
Dr. Brown.
With
Are
our
we gonna do badges, or do we all have to walk in every morning? Cause a lot of people don't go in.
It's not a punch card system, it's actually online. So everybody will have like a PIN number
So
or.
we all have to go in and use one of them?
There are a few different options. So one is that you can clock in from a computer, you can clock in from any electronic device. There's an app that's free. So if you have a smartphone, you can just download the app, and as long as you're within our Wi-Fi, you just clock in when you pull in.
Okay, but we can't, number one, we can't get on your Wi-Fi because we don't have a passcode, we've never been given one. Number two, I've had an email for 2 years with the district, I can't get anything from your email. I am locked out of it all the time, and I'm not the only one. So anything you send email, half of us do not receive. And the communication from our offices to taping it on our wall, it takes about 3 to 4 days for like summer school. We got the notice on a Monday that it was closed on Friday. So we don't get communications.
No, unless we communicate with each other, we
So
don't
need
have any
to-
communication.
we need to know whose emails, like.
Well,
if-
he's fixed mine several times,
Okay.
and within a month, we're locked right back out.
See,
Okay,
we don't
email
log on
system?
every
Yeah.
month.
Every single time he fixes it,
don't.
I'm locked right
And that's
out.
when the district
Yeah,
locks
and-
us out.
Why is it not, we have to solve that? We have to solve that.
Yeah.
Maybe can you put a longer period, because we don't sit in front of the computer every day like a teacher or administrator. Can you put a longer period that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Because we don't-
I get it now, we'll get right on that. That's ridiculous, you guys should be able to get access. to
Some of us
the
don't
email.
have.
You're missing too much, so we can fix that, we'll get that fixed.
And please write the Wi-Fi on your sheet too, because that's something that we can fix, because people are gonna need the Wi-Fi if we're using the app, if we are using the app.
Okay, what happens when, we have some drivers here that don't have smartphones, and we actually have some drivers here that don't have computers. How do we, and I'm not one of them, but how do we address that for them?
For them to clock in and out.
For them to clock in and out, for, I mean.
So there are a few different options, and that's something we're actually, our technology department has been communicating. There's several other districts who already use this system. And so we've been soliciting input from them for for how they deal with that situation. One option is to have them keep doing cards. That's an option. I don't know if that's what we're gonna go with. We're trying to see, I think there's 6 districts that we were looking for input from. So if they have an idea that we
Excuse
didn't
me for
have.
a quick announcement, I would just like to
So I don't have
let
an
you
exact
know
answer for
that
you,
in
but I
the
can tell you
office, there
technology
are
and
packets for a track and field summer camp that will be held at the high school. If you're interested, the packets are in the office. Also, the packets for cross country for next year, so it would be the 7th graders. The packets are in the office and ready for you as well. So just stop by the office before the end of the year and get your packets. Thanks, bye.
Can you repeat what you said after paper time cards?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat what you said after paper time cards?
Oh, what I said was that our technology department, there are several other districts in the area who already use the same system that we're going to. And so our technology department has been contacting them to solicit input for how they deal with that situation for their drivers and subs and things like that. The subs that are in the building in different positions, that won't be an issue, but we know that it's an issue for the sub drivers, and so we're looking for ways to solve that. If we don't come up with a better option, we'll have them continue doing paper, but if we do, we'd like to have a different option. So that's what we're investigating right now, and technology's actually been working on it for a couple of weeks.
So if I know we're still getting paid for, just like we have been, but because we're clocking in and out, how do we handle our safety meetings and our physicals and stuff? Will that just be automatically put in as a 5-hour day? You guys would do that, or?
The system, we actually have to enter a work calendar for every employee group. So every group has a calendar, just like you guys have a calendar of a number of days and a number of hours that they work, and that kind of works the same for everybody. And we enter those individually, and so we say all bus drivers, this is their calendar, and we have to put it in the system.
So
And so those days they're built in.
So the only time we would clock in and out is our driving days, just clock in and out. We don't have to worry about meetings or bus inspections or any of that, that would automatically be put in.
It's ruled in.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question from a driver who's on a trip. She would like me to ask. She wants to know how we justify a 25-year step plan. Right now, she's making $16 an hour, and she's saying it's gonna take her how many years, and she's only gonna get another $4. How do we catch up the drivers that are on the different scale than those of us who are on the upper scale? We're doing the exact same job, and some of us are making $20 an hour, and some of them are making $14 an hour. And actually, the ones that are making $14 an hour probably do more work and probably have a harder job than those of us that are making the higher scale.
Thank you.
So let's let John answer that, because that's a question I think is worthy of answering.
So, the 24 or the 25 step pay scale is a pay scale that this district can afford at this point in its history. And it provides for annual increases. And if you look at the size of those increases on a percentage basis, they start out around 3% and they grow. So we have some people then that are beyond the scale. It's kind of a legacy cost for us based on some old pay scales that were deemed to be unaffordable by past administrations and also by us. As long as we are in our current financial situation, we have to be able to afford the compensation rates that we pay. And this particular scale is one that we can afford, and it provides for progression as people's seniority grows. It provides for those additional step increases. Those step increases represent, hopefully, keeping up at least with the cost of inflation. Over time, we may be able to adjust that scale, but I can't make that commitment today.
There's just such a big difference, and there were some of those on that scale, when the scales were split, that they missed a step because they were put in as a step 0. And again, I'm not one of these people, so I have no dog in this fight, but they were put in as a step 0, and then the very next year, they had subs come in at a step 1, and the people who came in were making more money than they were, and they had been here a year already.
Amen.
And it's just, there shouldn't be that wide of a range, even if those of us who make a lot are frozen, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking for me, I just want to make that clear, I'm not speaking for nobody else. We need to get those bottom people. If we wanna keep subs and we wanna keep our people who are just starting, we have got to get them more money somehow. And yeah, somehow, that is our biggest problem.
Also, based on what you just said, you said that through those 25 steps, that the increase per year gradually gets bigger and bigger. As I'm looking at it, it's an average of 40 cents per year until you get towards the end of the scale and it actually goes down. I see no increase.
Bigger and bigger. I said that at the start of the scale, it is a percentage, it's around 3%. The change, it shrinks as a percentage. The increase as a dollar amount stays static for about 15 years. And then the last 10 years is you shrink. You'll see there's a little shaded area there.
Yeah,
The shaded
shrinks
area is
considerably.
slower growth than the first 15 years.
So you're saying for the next 25 years, we don't merit any kind of a increase, because you guys are doing so much with the Kelly program that you're starting up and everything, with the advertising, Kelly advertising and that, where's that money gonna go?
I'll address that because the Kelly Press thing is something that we don't even know how much that's gonna end up generating. We're waiting to see. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring in revenue in any way we can possible, and be able to help our district. So when you haven't done it and you have no idea what it's gonna bring in a year, then it is, I would say, not very good practice to anticipate a certain amount when you may not even get half of that.
Right.
So,
Well, I read the proposal last night, so I know.
yeah, so
You
we
really don't have that.
Yeah, I think Kelly Press is gonna bring in additional revenue for the district, and that additional revenue will help. I don't know how much yet. I mean, and that's an idea that we're trying to do to bring in additional.
What
revenue.
other ideas do we have?
Well, we always look at summer school. Summer school usually generates some funds for us. So, you know, what we've done, and you guys have known this, but what we've done is we went from, I believe, past practice has been 4 days a week, and we moved to 5 days a week. Well, we moved to 5 days a week because it's more advantageous for parents to have some place for their child for 5 days as opposed to 4, hoping that it would increase enrollment. And if we increase enrollment, that's a way to bring in additional revenue as well. So we're constantly watching those numbers. So, you know, and you know, we'll need to eventually look at other avenues to bring in revenue. You know, the thing is I'll be the first one to say that your salary schedule and what you make, you deserve to make more. Okay, I don't care where you fit. I don't care if you're even off the schedule. You deserve to make more. With what you guys do each and every day, you deserve to make more. In fact, our teachers deserve to make more. You know, no matter where they fall on the salary schedule. We're in a situation right now where we bring in $9,222 per student. We're in a district that has to account for our special education students in that $9,222. If you compare what we bring in per student to other districts, it's not comparable. For districts, especially our size. We're gonna eventually need to build some trust, and we're gonna eventually need to find some ways to add additional revenue. But you're exactly right, Stacey, what you're saying is we want great teachers, and that's something that has come back to us. I'm sorry, I said teacher. That's something that came back to us, the beginning salaries, and it's not too different than what our teacher salary looks like, to be honest. You know, Festus pays more for a starting salary for a teacher than we do right now. I don't like that. All right. I know that the past history of the Fox School District has been people want to work here. They want to come here.
But that was
if you're from Jefferson County, you want to work here, and I know that that's taken a hit over the years. Part of it has been our past, some of the things that have happened in the past, public relation wise. Part of it has been where our salaries lie. I get that. I totally get that. We're not going to fix that today. I can appreciate your comments. I can appreciate even looking at the salary schedule and saying, I don't like it. Put that down in your continue start and stop. Let us know that. We'll revisit it. You do not have an administration that's standing in front of you right now that is out to get anyone. We are out to support as much as we possibly can. But just as I don't know what your route's like. I don't know how many hills you go up. I don't know how many hills you go down. I don't know what kind of kids you pick up. I don't know how many kids you have to strap into a seat every day. You also in turn, and I hope that, and I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, but you also in turn don't know how many balls we're trying to juggle and balance and treat everybody with respect and dignity. And that's where we're at right now. We want to be incredibly respectful to our drivers. So what I'm going to ask is, I'm going to ask this. I'm going to ask you to take some time to fill out this, the continue, start, and stop. All right, I'm going to ask Kelly and John to circulate as you fill out your continue, start, and stop. We want to see the patterns. We want to see what's on your mind. This is not an administration that stands in front of you and says, this is what it is, and too bad, so sad. We will make adjustments. You just have to give us a little bit of time. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my cell phone, all right? And if you have issues or problems, and you have questions, write this down and give me a text or give me a call. 314.
Do you know what you're going to do?
I didn't say I'm giving you the right number. All right? 314-221-9523. And here's why I give you my number. Okay? Here's why I give you my number. One, I want to be accessible to you. I want to know what you're going through. But the other reason I give you my number is if you are hearing rumor out there, contact me and let me know. Because one of two things have happened. One, I may not know. And two, it may not be correct. So if I don't know and it's out there, I want to know. Okay? And if it is incorrect, but that's the thought process of some, I want to know that so we can correct that. Okay? I have an incredible amount of respect for what you do. In fact, I'll be honest, I don't know if I can do what you do each and every day. All right? So the respect really runs deep in my opinion. This meeting was set up and it was actually delayed out of respect to each and every one of you. So we can think things through and make sure we have a balance of what we have to deliver in terms of information. I hope in return that you can respect that we are accessible and we do want to sit down and have meetings with you. We've got to stop, start, and continue. Fill that out. We'll be circulating around. If you have individual questions, Kelly, I wouldn't mind you going back to that very back table because
can we get some more of these? Can we get a few more of these papers for the ones that are on trips?
Yeah, we have them up here.
The ones that are on trips and things are not okay.
Yeah, you bet. You can think about it, fill it out. Here, hey, there's a great question that was asked, okay? Is this something you want today? I would love it today, but if you want time to think about it, all right, and listen to this, this is pretty important. Do me the favor and show me the respect to not call your colleagues and talk about it. Because then it meshes. Was it really your thought? Was it really your concern? Or is it your colleague's concern and you say, oh yeah, I'll put that down too. We want to see patterns, but we don't want a biased opinion one way or the other. This affects you and your life, and this is what you would like us to look into. Okay? Yes?
Okay, this doesn't change any of that. Tomorrow's the deadline to vote on if we want to be paid on the 15th and the 30th.
Yeah.
Or whatever, every other week. I can't get online. I haven't been able to get online. So we need special permission. So, can't we take a vote today?
Yeah, you know what? Here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do. Write it on there. 24 or 27. Write it on your continue, start, and stop, and we'll do it that way.
Got it.
Okay? Nope. You gotta turn it in by Friday, though. Turn it by Friday. So, yeah. Yeah, please.
Yes, ma'am.